Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 8 of 9 here at the Formula Racing League. I am your host, I'm Kazza, and joining me today, special guest is Raggy. How you doing, man?
Hello, I'm not bad, how are you?
Not too shabby, not too shabby. Yeah, here in sunny Brazil, well, slightly overcast Brazil, shall we say. Hoping for a good one. As I say, it's round 8 of 9. The title could be decided today. We've got John Boy sitting at the top of the championships. A win today, and Noosa finishing in. Noosa has to get 4th, I believe, as it stands, to have a chance at coming after him. So it could be decided here today.
Yeah, also bear in mind that Noosa actually has a injury today. He was racing yesterday, he found out that he'd injured his toe somehow. So he will not be performing at his best, but do bear in mind that he'll still be giving it everything he can to try and cement this position as in the championship.
Yeah, just behind them as well, you got FSK there in this Sauber. He's only 4 points behind Noosa, who, as I say, is 11 points behind Jumboy. So he's going to need a good result. He's got 2 wins, but a DNF last time out in Mexico means he is struggling. And Noosa took the win in Mexico to get himself up there into 2nd place. The Red Bull team of Noosa and Necromonic Puck are flying away in the constructors as well. Although I only see 1 Red Bull here today, so that could be interesting. They are quite far ahead, 51 points with 48 available in a weekend. Renault will be hoping to close that gap in, and as I say, they do have the championship leader on their side, so who knows what will happen. We've got some movement down the pit lane already.
We do. We got Rolls Royce out, we have one of the McLarens out, we've got a couple of Haas, we've got the Sauber, and now we have Griffiths, who's actually coming out on the medium compound tyre. Definitely not a tyre you want to be starting your race on if you can avoid it. You do want to be starting on either the soft or the super soft, depending on what sort of strategy you're going for. But 1 stop is definitely doable. It's just how quick can you be on the solar compound if that's what you want to start your race on.
Yeah, you could be setting a banker in, which you see quite a bit of in this day and age, just in case you make a little mistake on your flying lap. Medium's not a bad tyre to start on, obviously not going to be the best, but you need to get a lap at some point. You might as well take it on the mediums, get a lap down. Just on board with FSKs, he's going around turn 5 up towards 6 and 7. I do love this track, don't get me wrong. It's one of these. I don't think this track's changed for as long as I've been watching F1, and that's probably why I still love it. It's got a demanding middle sector and then some lovely long straights. And the weather just makes things really unpredictable as well. So I think you had a race a few weeks ago that had FSK were off there. Hopefully for his sake, hopefully he's not picked up any damage for that.
His wing looks intact. I don't think he's got any damage. But yeah, as you were saying though, the weather here can be very unpredictable. There is definitely going to be rain, I've been informed, in the race itself.
Excellent.
Something to bear in mind. It's not going to be the heaviest of rains. Apparently it's going to start off pretty wet and then it's going to get into light rain. So these drivers will be looking to, if it is going to be rain from the get-go, it's going to be starting off on the super softs because you've got nothing to lose when it comes to tyres and strategy. So absolutely give it everything, full beans. And whilst Griffiths is out on track with the mediums, it seems if that is the case, it doesn't look like he's actually been able to read the weather report. But yeah, just going on topic of the weather, yeah, there was a race I had actually one time. It's the first time I've ever had this happen in the entire time I've commentated on F1. The rain was so severe, it actually caused a safety car, which was tremendous.
Yeah, never seen it. I'm annoyed I missed that one because, as I say, it's never happened to me before. I'm just wondering what Noosa's doing. It's taken a lot of temperature out of those tyres, keeping off the racing lines to let people through. And that might not help him when he comes to putting a flying lap. Those tyres are going to be stone cold. But Merge has put in the fastest time of 1:08.3. Let's stick on board there with Noosa and see how he can handle. Obviously, people are going to have a wet weather setup, so things are going to be a little bit harder to control. And I think Noosa's actually just going to go. No, he's going, but he's in mode 0. I don't think he's realised that yet. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm wondering what is unless he's just trying to get himself warmed up again physically, not necessarily his tyres or his car. I think he's just trying to get himself into a more comfortable position of driving whilst he's got this toe issue, so he can still keep his championship dreams alive, but also be able to put down a very quick lap time.
Yeah, realistically, he needs to get in the race to get a nice haul of points to keep that going, or he'll be relying on FSK to do it. And if he drops out, as I said earlier, Red Bull are top of the championships. Jumboy shows us what time he can do with a 1:08.1. if
His
Noosa dropped...
teammate actually did a quick lap as well. It was a one. Oh well, sorry, not a quick lap. He actually did a full lap. It was a 1:11 is what he put in, but it invalidated. He still sits down there in the final 6 drivers that don't, 7 drivers, so they haven't yet put a time in.
Yeah, there's been a few people who put a lap in. You've got Roy, halfback Cass, Luke Font, and Plop Plop have put in a lap, but all invalidated. So obviously these wet weather setups are causing people some issues. As Merge puts a 1:07.8, that's an absolute storming lap. Second time around as well, actually. So that's going to get better as the fuel gets lighter now. Noosa is going to set a flying lap now. He's going to put a time in. I know he got invalidated anyway, but he's now started flying lap. He's in mode 5. He goes round the centre S's turn 1 and 2 downhill. Very hard to get that right, particularly on the start. And then through this long left-hander turn 3. Then you get that second DRS straight as you go down towards turn 4. And see if he gets this perfect. He's just on the apex there, round turn 5. This is where I tend to lose the back end, along with many other places on the track. And then a double right-hander, 6 and 7, and a little squirt towards turn 8. And then you're into this really technical area in the middle, just sweeping corners, pretty much just 2 hairpins back to back, or 3 hairpins back to back, up to turn 10. Just off the apex, but still nice and tidy, that's what matters. 3 turn 11, which is flat out, and then hard braking to turn 12, and then it's pretty much just isn't straight towards the line. Just put that power down, get into mode 4 or 5, and you're going to get a little DRS just after the pit starts, and then cross the line and see what he does. It's going to look good. Oh, goodish.
109.381.
Yeah.
The time was a little bit out for me. It looked like he'd magically done a 104, but when he crossed the line, he did correct himself. A 109 is where he placed himself P8. So looking pretty strong if you're a Mercedes fan. Both drivers in the top 3. Haas obviously got the only one driver, and FSKS says, never mind, I'm snatching pole position away from you by 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows the pace that this man's got. He probably would have had a decent result last time out if he didn't crash out. But to finish first you have to finish, and he didn't. He's picked up 2 wins so far, one in Austria, one in Germany. Obviously it's a 9-round season, and 2 DNFs as well to go with it. But I think Jumboy, he's only had 1 win this season, but he's had 3 second places, and that's why he's got so many points. He's never not finished, and his lowest finish position is 6th, so it's good news for him. He's at the moment he is 3rd. He's in the pits. FSK's done. Who's on a flyer? Is that Roy on a flyer?
It is.
Yes,
He's
it is.
about to come around the final corner before the long straight. Or the lightly isn't straight. But he's got his foot buried. He's going to be able to get full utilization of the DRS as well. He's going to flick over to mode 4 for the little... No, he's not. Staying in mode 5. 1:08.1.
Not
that
too
is
bad.
A really solid time. Look at that. P4 for him. Obviously, he's the only one driving today in the Toro Rosso. He's going to be representing the constructor as well as he possibly can. And so far with that lap time, he's going to be pretty happy with himself. Yeah,
and Toro Rosso are plumb last, unfortunately, the constructors, with only 6 points. But he's going to hope to give them something to cheer about today. Further down, we've got halfback in the McLaren. They're battling, basically, they're battling for last place in the championship at the moment. Toro Rosso on 6, McLaren on 8. And there are a few other battles in there. Let's have a look at halfback. Halfback? Back? I'm not sure. Let's just call him Cass. So he's going down the DRS straight down towards turn 4. Let's see how he does. I don't think I've actually seen him race before, so it'd be interesting to see what he's got.
Oh,
and that shows a little bit.
Yeah. Plopper to Plop there, he is the other Renault driver who has not yet put in a lap time that has been valid. His teammate has. He's up there in P3, 108.117. He's currently starting the pits. Plopper to Plop will be looking to go out and be pretty fast. But the way that he just seems to be taking this track, it's looked like he's just struggling. I'm not quite sure what it is in particular that's going wrong for him, but he just can't seem to put it together and get the job done. Slash LP though, he is about to start another hot lap as well. Currently P6, 108.444. It's looking pretty good for him too.
Just the ball with Cassis is coming up towards the line. He does have just in front of him Plop to Plop, but Plop to Plop does set a time. Cass doesn't. He did a 108.5, which isn't too bad. he would have been P7 with that if he hadn't invalidated. And yeah, flop flop. So just put in a time wasn't really competitive, but a time's a time at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to
and
go
even
again.
if it is a 117.9, it's still more than what Harv has put in at the minute. So P12, yeah. Again, we know the rain's going to be there at the beginning of the race, which is great news for obviously for the spectators and for us as commentators. It makes for a really exciting overtaking opportunities, mistakes to be made, crashes, all sorts of things that racing is fun for. But being P12 is not something that you want to be stuck in, and that's why he's giving it the full beans now. I mean, the time that he did put in was just literally a cool down lap, or a warm up lap, should I say? Sorry. And now as he's coming through the final corner into the straight,
it's about 8
he's
seconds
looking
up.
to really. Oh, yeah.
He was
very,
8 seconds
very
up. He's 8 seconds up at the end of the second sector. Let's see if he can keep 8 seconds up on his previous best. Coming across the line now, 9.4.
Oh,
he's there.
Harv's managed to put one in, look, 108.836. So he did what Plopper couldn't do.
And Merge goes even faster, 107.5. That is a decent lap. Lukefong improves. I'm just going to jump on board with Jump Boys. He's coming up the hill toward the start finish line. Capil jumps up as well into 4th, so Jump Boy needs to get a decent time. It's looking good.
Oh, Plopper
P3
retired.
Was that a crash, or is that just that will do? I've done a time and it's not worked for me.
I'm not sure. You'd have thought that the fact that it is going to rain would suggest that there's no sense in trying to do any sort of tyre strategy. You just want to just nail it. Just treat this as one-shot qualifying that's repeated and try and get as quick as you possibly can do. And I can only assume that he has actually binned it. I'm just looking for his car on track, but I can't. Oh,
there it is.
There's
You
a
can
bit
see.
of debris there. Yeah, that's him. So yeah, it was in fact a retirement.
I've just lost the back end coming around turn 5. As I said earlier, that's where I've lost it, so I know how easy it is to lose it there. You just get a little too much on the curbs, back end steps out, you overcorrect, and you say hello to the wall.
I mean, it could also be a good sign for him in that he's got a very wet setup on. But the question is from the weather report I've seen, it doesn't suggest it's going to be that heavy in the rain. So it's kind of, is he overcompensating for the weather? Is he thinking maybe there's something going on that we're not aware of? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I mean, Noosa also is not clearly aware of the weather, it looks like, even though he was the one who told me. Why he's on the softs at the minute, I'm not quite sure.
Unless he's run out of super softs, which I don't think is possible.
Well, not this early on at least, anyway. You'd have to absolutely shred them at each time he came out and not actually be able to put a time in.
Just seeing Roy coming across. Yeah, I think Roy invalidated the current lap and the next lap. He overcut the corner on the pit entry, and potentially, because he's now limping through already, I think he might have messed that one up.
Yeah, I think the good thing is though is that we are still at that stage of the session where he can, easily go again and have a couple more attempts. The other thing to know as well is, like we said, with the weather, that there's no issue of tyre strategy, so he can tear these tyres to pieces when we go into the actual race. So he's not going to be too concerned. It's just more, I need to manage my fuel, I need to manage my ERS. He's in mode 0 right now, and I imagine conveniently as well to go with it. But it just needs to be quite mindful of how much you actually fill the car up with in the first place. Even if you are on lean, you are still going to be expending fuel going around the track.
Yeah, he doesn't have the fuel light on at the moment, so he should be okay to do another lap after this. Maybe he did fuel up to do a couple of high-paced laps, back to back maybe, and he's now just shifted into mode 5. He's coming around the final corner, so he's definitely going to go again, because there's no reason to shift it into mode 5 to get back to the pits with 4 minutes left of the session. Let's see if he invalidates this time. He's learned his lesson. Look at that, right on the edge this time. So let's see if he can climb up. A little bit of lag there going into turn 1. So he's a little bit wide on the apex. Looks good turn 2. He's going to have some traffic coming out of the pits. Hopefully that's not going to impede him. And hopefully they'll keep left as I see, I think it's a McLaren in front of him just come onto the racing line, but if anything it's going to make him a bit quicker down that straight and he'll get right out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing he's got to think about though is if McLaren doesn't get out of the way in time, the slip, because it's quite a technical section, sector 2. It required. Oh, he's well out of the way. Yeah, nicely done there by McLaren. But yeah, just going through it, it can massively affect any of the drivers going through it. This is quite a high technical requirement of the driver and of the car. So if there's any sort of variable that can destabilize the vehicle, that will really put a lot of pressure on the driver to fix it and make sure that there's no issues as he's coming through again into the straight. He needs to do what he didn't do last time, just keep it off that line and not put it too deep.
Okay, just there.
Fine.
That looks good.
Oh,
Improves, but only by a tenth. And that he's got to go back to the pits now really quick if he wants another shot at this. And I say really quick, he basically has to do another flying lap to the pits.
well, I mean, not necessarily. Again, obviously, with the weather being the way it's going to be for the race, he's got the fuel for it, he's got the ERS for it, he just needs to charge it a little bit and make sure he's not going to be putting himself at a problem. The other thing he wants to look at is timing it just right so that as he crosses the line, the session is near enough ended, but also that he has burnt enough fuel to be just able to get around that lap. Obviously, if he makes a mistake, it's going to be the end of the session regardless anyway, so he's got nothing to lose. But if he can do that, reduce the weight of the car and get the track at its most optimal position, he may be able to pull off a time that will pull him up there with the big boys in from P4 onwards.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I've noticed he still doesn't have a fuel warning light on, so he's obviously put in a fair amount of fuel and going to be going again.
Sorry, Merge made a pretty bad move there. He's off track. He's currently a pole sitter, but he made a bit of a mistake going into the right-hander, and that was what cost him. He went off the grass and luckily managed to keep himself out of the wall, so he doesn't have to take a trip back to the pits, but he will have debris on his tyres, and hopefully by the end of this straight down the back, he will actually be able to clear his tyres up a little bit, go again, make sure he doesn't lock up. Let's see how clean his tyres are as he brakes into turn 1.
Oh, sorry, I just flicked down to pass it out, nearly all out of shape there. Going into turn 12, got a little bit on the grass and nearly lost the back end on a flying lap as well. And he won't have well, he might have time to do another one, but he's got to pin the throttle. No, he's not going to have time to do another one. Well, he will have time to do another one, but not another one after this, so he won't be able to do a cool down lap before he goes again.
But he has joined his teammate up there in P5, so a good solid 108.061 for him. And even with that little wobble, it really is kind of an indicator to show him, well, actually, you can be a lot faster than this, and you could be up there in P3, as long as you just got to keep it clean. And I swear by this, being consistent is key to F1. You have to be consistent. It's all well and good you put in one magical lap time in the qualifying, but the qualifying isn't what gives you the points that you need in order to win a championship or put yourself up there in the constructors' side of things. So you really, really have to put down quick pace lap times, but also make sure that you can do them over and over and over again.
Yeah, just on board with championship leader Jumboy. He's just been pipped to third place by Rosie. He's put in a decent time finally on those super softs, so that'll probably be the end of his qualifying. Rainbow has had enough of this. I'm guessing he's not looking forward to the rain either, as he's still in the pits. And yeah, there you go, Roy has retired, so Jumboy is coming up the hill. Let's see if he can put himself up at the front where he needs to be to try and clinch the championship today, especially with Noosa starting down in 12th. And where does he end up? Oh, 4th.
They'll be 4, yeah.
Looks
so
like improved.
Merch has got pole position by the looks of things, unless Livcon, which is his teammate, could do anything about it. Hav is down there in P12, but looking at the way that he's been driving today, I'm not expecting him to be able to break the top 3 drivers down. But Rolls Royce, what a performance by him, getting himself up there. That's, the thing I want to point out as well is just how close the pack actually are. From P1 down to say all the way down to P10 really. You got literally, that's where the second end. So that's, if you're talking DRS zone, from 1 to 10, they all have DRS on each other if he was on lap 3 right now. Obviously it's going to be wet, so that's not going to be the case. The other thing to know then is, when it comes into the start of the actual Grand Prix itself, it's going to be wet, it's going to be very slippery on track. The drivers are going to be all looking to try and claim a couple of places, and I think we're going to see a fair few mistakes, maybe some wings go flying off into the wall, and maybe even a wheel go blowing off as well.
Well, one can only hope for a bit of action, so we shall hope we see that later on, and we'll just have a quick rundown of the final qualifying position. So there you go, Merge has taken the pole position from FSK, Roy, Jumboy, Lufcon, Capil, Pass, /LP, Rainbow, Noosa running out the top 10. So basically the top 11 all finished just about a second between each other. So Gryphus followed by Cass and Plop Plop finishing off the grid. So then, it's going to be interesting to see if Merge have put on a full dry to try and get pole and everyone has gone for wets. but we shall see that when we get into the race in a moment's
So,
time.
I do this to you every time, and I can only apologise. But you've seen the qualifying, you've seen the drivers.
I hate you.
What do you think about the podium here in the race, given the wet conditions as well?
I'm just trying to remember if we've had a wet race in this series. I'm sure we have. I can't remember it. I think based on the fact Noose has got that injury and he's starting quite low, he's going to really struggle. FSK is the fastest driver here when he finishes, so I'm going. FSK is going to crash out because I think he's got that in him in a bad way. So John Boy will take home the win. Slash LP, I'm going for second. And I do think Noose is going to climb up and get third and keep the title on to the end of the season, even if it is pretty much out of his reach by that point. But that's what I'm going for.
Okay, I only know a few of these drivers that I've actually raced with on track. Noosa for me is the standout driver as to someone who can perform on, in any condition really. So if I was to, and I know he's got the injury, but I just think that he's done something that the other drivers haven't done. I think his setup is more conditioned to these sort of conditions. Do I think he's going to win the race? No. I think it's a bit unreasonable to expect him to be able to pull that off, especially given the situation of how the weather is on track and how he's got with his toe. So I'm going to give P1, I'm going to go with Merge, although he is worrying me a little bit on the basis that the way that he performed on track to get pole position was very quick. Does that mean he's got a full dry setup on? That's, did he know the rain was coming? Did he check the weather report? I would hope that somebody of this sort of caliber would actually be able to check these information and actually apply that to his setup. I am going to stick with him being P1, but it's a sort of P1. P2, I'm going to go slash LP, just because I know that he can be quick, and I think he actually has played this very smartly. I think he does have a setup that will be adapted to this, and then I'm going to go P3 Noosa.
Okay. So your 2 and 3 are the same as mine. We've just got different winners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think FSK is definitely the fastest driver in the dry on any track. I've seen that from him throughout the season, but he has little bits of issues here and there. I think as he's starting second, he's going to have an issue with Merge. Merge got second place last time out, so he does have pace, but I think FSK is going to have an issue and contact in a big way, potentially on the opening lap, due to he might have a really good dry wet weather setup. Merge got a slightly dry one on, and they're going to come together pretty early on.
Do you think that we will have 10 drivers alive at the end of the session?
No. I think we'd be lucky to end up with 7.
Wow, okay.
Depends how wet it gets. I mean, we're starting on Inters, which isn't that wet at the end of the day. And I'm not even sure it's raining at the moment. Oh, it is. But here we go. 5 red lights. And away they slide down towards, well, up at the moment towards turn 1. And look at that. FSK getting the inside line. Looks a little bit out of shape, but Merge will take the lead into the first corner. As FSK sits in second, Lufcon, Roy's cutting the corner a little bit there. He's got to be careful coming back on. Lufcon's P3, Jumboy slots in P5 as they all go cleanly for a change. Down towards turn 4. And they all, it's just all over the place. But he's still in the race.
Though, right before the wall.
And let's go on board with Roy. He's bashing with Lufcon going up towards turn 6. Let's see if he makes a move. Or he's just sitting in there for now.
The other thing to note is our P2 driver is currently sat in dead last. He did make a mistake going into turn 4 and it just cost him that place. He had to run really wide to try and accommodate for it. It seems as though my assumption of his car setup being correct. Either he's just not feeling it or he's not used to driving in these sort of conditions with such a heavy load on the car. Intermediate tyres do seem to be the tyre of choice right now. It does seem to be the one that is working. Whether or not they'll need to flick to the wet, because I mean, it looks pretty wet. To be truthful, if you look at the drivers, if you go right on board with any of the drivers, it's super wet. Let's just see how it looks for Merge.
I'm actually on board with Lufcon behind FSK at the moment. FSK is sliding all over the place. Maybe he's got an ultra wet setup, and that's not helping him at the moment. As times, as you can see, are probably a little bit out. I don't think there's a 1 minute 22 gap between FSK and Lufcon. Slash RP's
Slash
gone.
RP.
Sector 3. That must be on the isn't quite straight home straight.
Well, you can already say goodbye to our prediction there in that respect. P2 is definitely not going to be going to Slash LP, unfortunately. He is someone. Oh, next to Les Capel, he's gone as well. Where is that? That is. Oh, that was a major crash. His car was actually right up in the air, bouncing back onto the track. I wish I'd have caught the initial impact.
I just saw a wheel flying across the track and a front wing. I didn't actually see a car.
I saw it from. So I went on board with Alpha just as he was finished going past him, and the Williams was up in the air, bouncing back onto the track. And wow, that was crazy too.
I've just been told FSK is changed to no assist. That's why he's struggling a little bit. Probably doesn't help the fact it's in the rain. It's probably not the best time to change to no assist. Lufcon is still right on his rear.
Well, look who's right on the rear of him. Rolls-Royce is chasing Lufcon, coming down the home straight now. DRS obviously is not enabled, despite the fact that we're on lap 2 anyway, but because of the wet conditions, it means that we won't be seeing it anytime soon. But Roy just had a major mistake coming out of that exit. And look how fast FK and Lufcon are. FSK, sorry.
Just wondering if Lufcon was going to make a move down there. He's had a decent opening, few laps up 2 places, but up 6th place. He got Cass taking advantage of those people crashing out, and he's moved himself up to P6 from right at the back.
And look at Noosa. Noosa is right on the back of Pass. If Pass makes that slight mistake, it's going to be just an easy overtake for Noosa. Coming into turn 4 now, how is Pass going to handle himself as Noosa was looking for it, but not where he could go. And so Pass still holds on to P7.
And Noosa runs wide as well to go with it on the exit of turn 5. Just keeping an eye on Pass. He looks a little bit out of shape in turn 4, but Noosa looks even more out of shape, unfortunately for him. And it's almost looking like wet weather setups now, isn't it? Everyone's starting to slide a little bit. Just wonder if we're going to see someone make that move first of all. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, everyone is still on the inters. No one has dived into the pits. Cass is on the back of our championship leader as well. Well, was. He's dropped back a little bit now. Jumboy's really struggling out there. His merge is flying away. He's 4 seconds in lead as FSK is dropping right back. FSK is had an off on the exit of turn 12 and
he forced Noosa off
yeah.
track.
And there he gone.
He's out. You did call it. You did say he would be crashing out, but I didn't expect it to be that early on in the session. Noosa had a situation where he had to just dodge the Sauber driver. It almost cost him as well, that front wheel, but he caught it, brought himself back on track, and despite his injuries, he's up to P7. Yeah,
we've got Cass and Pass battling out for P5 at the moment. I just missed the battle going into turn 1. But Zero FSK has changed the no assists, and putting no assists on in the rain is just crazy talk in my eyes, especially if it's one of the first times you've actually done it. You're just asking for trouble. I mean, that's going to happen, isn't it? You're going to lose control of the car quite easily. But we've still got a battle on for 5th between Pass and Cass.
And the question is, can Cass pass?
Well, I wonder if Pass is just going to pass us away and get away in the distance. Oh, that was a terrible joke, and I'm sorry for that one. That didn't quite work.
Well, we forgive you. It's okay.
Yeah. It's batting behind.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
He's hoping for a rainbow because that will mean the sun's coming back out, and that will also mean that the track dries up a fair bit. We are expecting the rain to lighten up a touch later on. Whether it's going to stay all the way to the end of the session, that's currently unconfirmed. But the way that Rainbow's driving, right behind his teammate, does suggest he might actually be able to make a pass in the next lap or two. It's just going to be who makes the biggest mistake. Although Jumboy catching up to Roy, that's with the podium position right there if he can get it.
Yeah, he needs to get himself on that podium, especially with FSK going out, and he's going to hope Noosa will go out as well, and he can take home a championship today. He was 11 points clear at the top of the championship before today, so a decent haul of points with only one race to go after this could mean he takes home the title.
But indeed, Rainbow catching up to the back of his teammates still. Do you reckon team orders are playing effect here?
No team orders. Rainbow doesn't like the rain. That's
why he's the Rainbow.
Yeah, I mean he has several corners named after him for different reasons, particularly Rainbow Road at France, which is turn 11, I believe it is, the long right-hander. So will we name a corner after him today here? That will be seen as we go through. Jumboy's still on the back of Roy. Stick with them then as they're coming up towards turn 12 and then on to the home straight. And looks
Who's going to get the better exit? Oh, it looked like it wasn't Jumbo, as he got very
well,
sideways. But Roy was quite
both
slow.
got one. Both got a terrible drive.
Okay, Jumbo, you caught that one beautifully, but that was almost a huge off. And it's looking like he might be able to go down the inside into turn 1. Who's going to be first? It's looking Jumbo's got it. He's got the inside line. And yeah, Roy had to back out just a bit further than necessary. Jumbo's teammate popped the block, has actually
he's all out of shape
here.
Jumbo's all out of shape there.
I think Roy might actually have him though. Nope, never mind, he hasn't. He's just fallen back a bit. So P3 has moved to Jumbo. It's looking pretty good for that Renault. Whereas the other Renault, it's looking like it's all gone to pieces.
Yeah, which is bad news for the championship for Renault. With Noosa still in the race, they needed to get as many points as possible to reel them in, and it's not looking like they're going to be able to do it here. Oh, Roy just missing the back there of Jumbo's rear. The rain is still coming down, and it's chucking it down, if you ask me. I think this is getting to wet weather setups, as my co-com has unfortunately disconnected. And unfortunately that means I can't invite him back, so hopefully he can get back in. As Plop has left session as well. And Roy just dropping off the back here of Jumbo, which is not good for him. Let's jump back to quite a few people leaving the session. Not sure what's going on here. Maybe it's just, well, they are the people that have crashed out, so it probably explains why they're leaving the session. Rainbow is still hovering on the back of his teammate Gryphus. See if he can make a move. He's 0.5 behind, 0.37. He's got a nice bit of slipstream, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1. And he's going to step back in there further up. Roy is on the back of Pass. Oh, Pass must have got past Roy actually. And yeah, so Pass is up to P4. And Noosa is on the back of Cass as well. And he's right there going into turn 6 and 7. Let's see if he can make a pass. Noosa, as we've mentioned a few times, does have an injured toe, but he is a fast driver without the injury. He's just trying to find a way past Cass, as this rain is completely relentless. It does almost look like it is getting to full weather rain. Let's see if it happens, and my co-com has managed to get himself back into the game finally. Thank you for that, Noosa, which I assume that's why he's a little bit off the pace. He dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, apologies for that little technical issue there. My network decided to just drop out for a brief second. I could hear you the entire time.
That's alright.
We're back.
Yeah, well, last race I had a Steam disconnection mid-race as the only commentator. Yeah. Fortunately I had a spare invite waiting for me as Gryphus goes down the inside of Noosa. Unfortunate if Noosa does lose the position for having to invite back the commentary team, but he's held on for now. Gryphus just holding on to the rear of Noosa. As we're going down towards turn 4, obviously there's not going to be any DRS, if at all, this race, due to this relentless weather.
Oh, Gryphus almost hit the back of Noosa there.
It's gone very deep.
A little bit.
Roy's crashed.
Gone. Where's that? Oh,
that's right here.
Oh, that was close. Noosa managed to just dodge Roy. That was almost a major issue there.
That was Cass as well. Was that a coming together, or is that Cass trying to avoid Roy and spun himself?
I'm just looking at the wing of Cass. It doesn't look like there's any damage there. So if there was a coming together, it definitely didn't impact the McLaren from a physical damage perspective, but it did seem to have had an issue with his actual position on track, as he's dropped down into dead last now. Still technically in the points, but he does have to complete 90% of the race in order to get those points.
Yep. As we say, that merge is still going faster, as he's got a lead of nearly 6 seconds over his teammate. Now it's over 6 seconds, so Merge must have some ridiculous setup on his car, because he went his P1 qualifying, and now he's just extending a lead in the race on wet. So either he's done something magical in the last week or so, or he's, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that one.
I think it is a setup thing. You know, his pace in qualifying was very quick in general anyway. But I think what happened was he adjusted his setup a little bit, because obviously park friendly rules do apply. but you are still able to change some areas of the car. So front wing, for example, you can change that. And I think all he has to do is just tweak that a little bit, bring it down a touch, and that'll bring his car much faster on those back straights, and that could be the difference of 2, 3, 4 tenths. So, get a good exit, that can make a huge difference coming into the wet conditions. Put it back to what it was before, and that's where you sit. Look at how he's doing in a minute, 6.6 seconds ahead of his teammate, like you say. And further back, you've got a three-way battle for P5. You've got Rainbow, who's chasing his teammate Griffiths, and then you have Griffiths chasing the back of Noosa.
Yeah, there's a swap in positions further back as well. Cass and Alpha Blue swapping over. Yeah, so just apparently I've just seen a message. Just want to check that, but apparently merge is disconnected on Lifcon's screen.
Okay, so it'll be a desync issue between the two of them then. So he won't actually know exactly where he is.
Right, could be interesting come the end of the race as John Boy's reeling in Lufcon. Gap is now less than a second. Lufcon ran a little bit wide on the exit of 5. See if John Boy has it in him to close him down. I think he does have it in him to close him down. But
he did, but he just took that corner just a bit too short, and that kind of really ruined his whole line. That corner is not really one that you can sort of cut too much. You have to get the right line, otherwise it will completely ruin your exit and then the entry into the next corner after that. And that is obviously a section you cannot afford to have that happen. You need to be able to put it down. And as a result of that, look, he's now 1.4. That was close. He caught it, but he's now falling further and further back. I think he's just pushing himself a little bit too hard, trying to play the early game, even though, he's definitely playing the early game. He's trying to catch up to Lufcon and make a name for himself, but it'd be better off just keeping the pace under control. Don't worry about trying to catch him. Don't worry about trying to pass him on track just yet. Who knows, Lufcon could end up with an incident regardless of the desync issue he's already got with Merge.
Apparently he lost, Merge's AI held up Lufcon for 3 seconds.
In the pits?
I don't know, we've not had a pit stop yet. I'm not sure exactly what that message means, but as Noosa's dropped, Noosa has pitted, so let's have a quick look and see. He's going on to a new set of inters, he's not going for a risky wet one. So that's an interesting call.
The top 3 drivers then for you, how many wet tyres where have they got?
Tyre wear?
Yeah, how many laps have they done on those tyres?
They're 10 laps. They've been only person to stop is Noosa.
They're showing 4 for me. But
okay, that's when you rejoined, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I assumed that they'd had a pit stop by that point, but no. Alright, I'll leave all tyre age to you.
For now, anyway. As I say, Noosa has been the only one to pitted. It's brand new inters. I keep looking at it and going, it's chucking it down. How is it only inters? But it's Alpha Blue picks up a 3-second penalty. That's not going to make too much difference further back.
The one thing I am seeing is not that much standing water. If you go on board with Lufcon, I can't see any sort of like major puddles where the wet tyres would be required. So whilst the track is pretty wet, it's not quite ruining their condition.
Well, it's still chucking it down. That's the only reason I'm thinking wets. We'll find out. I mean, maybe the front guys will change onto wets at their pit stop, as it is still raining, so it's just going to get wetter and wetter. John Boy's looking all out of shape. I think he might be thinking it's wets, or those inters have run their course. As my co-commentator is now stuffing his face.
Oh no, I'm all good. I'm all good. It's tempting, but I'm all good.
Is it wings again?
Nope. Full on English.
Oh, lucky boy.
Exactly. But is Rainbow adapted to the full-on English weather that's on track? Even though we are in Brazil, this is very wet, and I am excited to see if he can pass his teammate. Has actually left the session. Not sure what's quite happened there. Hopefully he can get an invite and get back in. But so who else is? So everything's actually quite spaced out. It's all quite relaxed at the minute. Everyone's, well, I say relaxed. From a spectator's perspective, it's relaxed. But from a driver's perspective, this is a tough series of events to be happening. You've got really wet track. You've got pretty aged tyres, except if you're Noosa. And overall, now you're at that touch and go moment of what do I do? I mean, look at the clouds. There is no sun coming through any time now. Rainbow
Ferrari's
actually
pitted.
almost got that.
I think he was going in the pits, but his teammate pitted first, so he had to not go in the pits. So let's have a quick look at Gryphus and see what tyres he puts on. Another set of Inters.
Yeah, I think it is still Inter's weather. I'm just again looking at the track to see if I can see any sort of standing water. There is a little bit on the outside of the racing line, but the racing line itself doesn't have any standing water. And actually, I was watching Rainbow then as he dipped into that bit of standing water just so that he could pull his tires a little bit more. And that is one of the top tricks that a lot of Formula One drivers, sorry, don't necessarily always adapt to. When it comes to these sort of conditions, it's really important for you to not just keep driving on the racing line. You got to keep your tires cool and extend the life of them.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the actual F1 drivers, they're taking some weird lines. I mean, particularly you look at Max Verstappen when he's driving in the wet. He doesn't sit on the racing line. The only time he's on the racing line is when it's a dead straight. On the corners, he's often going in deep and getting the power down late in the corner or early in the corner. Just going really strange looking lines, but he's one of the best wet weather drivers we have in the grid at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Newsom needs to channel his inner Verstappen as he's currently hunting a Force India. Let's hope we don't have a repeat of what happened in the official F1. As they are actually coming up to the back straight now. This is Newsom's opportunity to overtake Alpha Blue. Oh, Alpha's gone.
That's one way of getting past.
Is he going to get reset to track? No, he's okay.
No. He's back on.
There is a little situation that happens though, where if you go off the track just a little bit too far, it completely resets you straight away.
That's like sometimes beneficial. He's going in the pits. Let's see what he does. Well, I'm going to see what he does. And that's what he does. He gets a 5-second penalty for it.
That is not something you want at this stage of the race. It's just it's too much of a time for you to lose, and you're already at the back of the grid nearly, and that's, every position now matters when it comes to the points. And the main thing he needs to do now is not let that affect him. He can't break his mentality. He needs to keep it clean, keep it consistent, otherwise he'll just push a little bit too hard, and he'll end up like the other drivers that have fallen out already to the bottom 5.
Now there's another. Oh! I was just avoiding Gryphus. He looked all over the place. He is all over the place. He's in the wall. I just flicked off him onto Merge, who has put the wets on.
Wow,
that's
an interesting move.
So this will be very interesting to watch this time. So I'm just going to put on gaps to the leader and let's see if Merge can actually close in on Lufcon with these wets. Pass also pushing on the full wets. And this could be make or break time for Merge. If these don't work for him, he's going to drop right down. I'm just keeping an eye on the gap between Merge and his teammate Lufcon. I say it takes a little time for the tyres to warm up. They don't want to warm up too much because it means it's dry.
So something that Merge can do is, like we said, use the standing water to keep his tyres under control whilst in the wet. They will work on this racing line, not necessarily as good as the Inters will, but when he's going down the home straight or the first straight after turn 3, he will be able to actually benefit from the standing water there, and actually that will work wonders for him going into sector 2, where he's going to need every little bit of grip he's got in order to keep going. The main issue he's going to have is, he's not. Look, there's a couple of other drivers that have also done the same thing. Rainbow's come in, he's done wets. There's Pass, who's also done wets as well. It's really starting to fall like that is how they need to be going. Is the rain going to get worse, do you reckon?
Well, from your predictions, they were going to get drier, but it's still very wet. And Merge has closed in a little bit on Lufcon, about half a second or so on that one lap, and considering he's just come out of the pits, and look, that time is coming down, but Merge does look unstable going through the centre S, very unstable through turn 3, a lot of just flicking the steering around trying to find grip really, and so he's gained 0.8 of a second in an entire lap. So I think it's definitely looking like wet weather time, but he's fighting with that car every single corner.
Yeah, do you think that his teammate's going to come in and do the same thing? Obviously we know that there's a connection issue between the two of them. They don't quite have the ability to see each other. But we've got another driver in, Noosa. He's coming into the wet tyres as well. I think we are actually going to see when these guys pit. I do firmly believe it will be another set of wet tyres on the extra Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't pitted last time round, but He has got Jumbo on his rear. And this could be a battle in the pit lanes if both these guys pit. Or Jumbo could be on a... If he doesn't pit, I'm going to. But they're both pitting. Oh, there you go. I could see it coming. He looked all out of shape on the approach. He's picked up that 5-second penalty. That could cost him. And he's probably not now going to get out in front of Merge. Lufcon, sorry. Lufcon's already heading down. Where is he? There, he's still behind, unfortunately for him. See where Pass is. Pass is coming down the home straight now, so they might get out in front of him.
Jumbo almost went into the pit lane wall on the exit. It was pretty close, but he held on just about.
Well, Pass is coming down round turn 3. They are in front of him. But 9 seconds off the leader is now Lufcon. And that's not going to... Well, he'll be happy to still be in P2 after that. But he'll be like to be much closer to his teammate. As Dreyfus and Alpha Blue, the only people not to have changed. Dreyfus having an extra pit stop after his contact with the wall. Let's have a look then. Yeah, so 2 stops for Dreyfus, 2 stops for Noosa. Alpha Blue is making his second stop at this precise moment in time. So they're starting to sort themselves out a little bit now. Getting to the middle of the race. And I think
Griffiths has actually done a really good job of keeping himself in the race, given the fact that he went off and hit the wall pretty hard. He went in the pits, did pit on against some fresh intermediates, but still not necessarily. And actually, look at how he's driving around the track. I think, yeah, all the other drivers that made the decision to come to the west, Griffiths almost lost it.
Except Alpha. Alpha hasn't changed. He's on a new set of inters. Dreyfus just looks all out of shape on these inters, as the sun has now actually completely disappeared. It was peeking out the clouds earlier, so it's definitely just full wet time. So let's jump up to Jumboy, who is facing the wrong way. Where is that? That's turn 5? That's turn 3.
Isn't it?
That's an interesting place to lose. Obviously, probably gone a little bit deep on the exit and just lit up the rears and faced the wrong way. So he's dropped right off the back and off the podium. And those tyres are going to take an awful scrubbing. With the
other thing to note as well, I think the 5-second stop-go penalty that he got for speeding into the pit lane. Again, mentality is the main thing. Oh, it's just falling to pieces. Another 3-second time penalty. Oh, in his mind now, he's going to be destroying himself mentally. It's already tough to drive under these conditions, but then to have penalties applied to you because of your own little mistakes. Every mistake you have done to yourself just plays havoc on your brain. It makes you think that I'm just screwing this up. I need to fix it. What can I do? I need to push harder. I need to recover it. And now you can see in the way that he's driving, he's getting all out of shape. The way that he's turning the wheel, he's getting like very twitchy. He's also put the power down just a bit too early. He's used all of his fuel though. He's already on yellow 1 for the fuel. And we haven't even yet got 26 laps left.
He is pitting. I see. Is that front wind damage has caused him to pit? Don't pick another penalty. Oh.
Yeah, that is going to be a very upset Jumbo. I wouldn't be surprised if he
just retires here.
Yeah, just flat out retires.
So
Go from the other side west.
He does have front wing damage, that's why he's had to pit, losing on turn 3, picked up a bit of damage, made him even more out of shape going around the central field. And that's his day gone from bad to just pure terrible. And I was just hoping he wasn't stuck in the pits there.
Yeah, so did I. I was thinking, oh, that's not looking good. No, he's okay, he's back on track.
So he served one of those 5-second penalties, but he picked up another one immediately.
Griffiths and Alpha Blue. Griffiths went down the inside of Alpha Blue. There was contact between the two of them. Alpha Blue was almost sideways, the way that they were both positioned. Griffiths needs to be careful he doesn't hit the back of him. I know Alpha's slower, there's no doubt about that, but Griffiths needs to make sure that he doesn't hit him. There's contact again. There's a little bit of a nudge there onto the front wheels. Now Griffiths is ahead. Remember, there is no DRS, so it will be purely who got the better exit. And look who else is up there as well. It's Pass. He's coming through. Remember, oh, there's big contact.
Pass is laughing.
Pass, he's gone. Major issue there. I don't think Griffiths actually saw him.
That was a blue flag situation there. Griffiths just taking him out of the race. Almost looking like he thought it was for position. swiped him into the wall, and I suspect that will be going to the stewards later. That was not how you race, but in all fairness, that's now great news for Jumboy, because he'll get another position, and he's on the back of Noosa, well, not on the back of Noosa, but close to Noosa, and that is, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those messages from Pass later on.
I think there will be a pretty large slap on the wrist.
I think it might be more than a slap on the wrist.
I mean, realistically, there was nothing Pass could have done there to be any different. You know, he did the right thing. He was already going faster than both of these drivers on the track. Alpha Blue obviously got right out of the way without any issues. And then Pass just came tearing on past Griffiths on the right-hand side. Completely okay to do that. And then Griffiths just turned into him, put him into the wall, and that just flung Pass from one side, pinballed him into the other. Wheel just blew off his car, and that was the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix for him.
Yeah, I just wonder if Griffiths thought it was Alpha, and thought he was racing for position, not realising Alpha Blue had just dived straight into the pits.
But I mean, even if it was,
it's not an excuse for what he did. I'm not saying that. It's just that's what he might have thought.
Yeah.
But what's done is done, and unfortunately for Pass, he's now out of the race, as gaps are quite substantial now. The closest gap is 8 seconds. So not going to be much action for now.
No, unless we have another a blue flag condition where Griffiths has an impact with someone again. In fact, let's have a look. So he was
be Rainbow next
Pass. Yeah, it was Pass that was coming up. So yeah, it would be Rainbow. I mean, he's he's on the same straight as Griffiths. With them being teammates, you would hope that there'd be some sort of team orders, despite the fact you got blue flag conditions anyway.
Yeah, well, you'd expect there to be team orders in play, but obviously Griffiths not paying attention to the flags and paying more attention to the fact that he thought he was trying to be passed. So it's not an excuse for what he did, it's just what might be going through his head, and he's looking all out of shape every single corner. But Alpha Blue managed to escape really there, diving into the pits, because that could have been him in the wall.
I think we may see a race ban for Griffiths after that one.
Well, it might be his race over in a second. He's just massively off track there. It's not looking comfortable in the slices. Let's see where Rainbow is. Rainbow's just starting the home straight as Griffiths has come to the end of it. So there's a fair bit of track between them, about a third of a track. As let's have a look at Alpha Blue on the rear here of Cass. Oh, Cass is at AI, so that's not really a pass.
Well, he actually has tried in the last two corners to get past him, and he just couldn't do it. And that, look at that mega lock up there.
That's a lock up and a half, isn't it? That's just definitely its front wheels, they're probably rear wheels as well, just slamming the foot on those brakes. And
yeah, it depends what his bias was. If his bias was more to the front, that would have been a huge lock up for him.
Oh, merge with another penalty. That's 2 I've seen for him. None for Lufcon as yet, so...
Let me have a look at the penalties, and I'll give you an update as to how they are looking.
Just have a quick look at Lufcon.
So Harv has a 3 seconds. Alpha Blue has a 3 seconds. Then he got a stop go as well. Griffiths got a 3 second. Merge got a stop go. Jumbo got a stop go.
Does that mean they've served the stop go?
Well, if they pit since they had, so they got the stop go on entry to the pit lane because they got it for speeding in the pit lane, so they'll have to serve it on the next pit stop.
So he's only stopped once then.
So yeah, neither of them will have actually. I mean, Jumbo's actually pit twice, but he did get 2 stop goes.
Yep.
So he will have served it on the first one, but then he'll have had another one to add to the end of the race. If he doesn't pit now, or at any point throughout this, he will have it. So Merge actually has 6 seconds of penalty, is the total count, despite his stop go, which he hasn't yet served, I believe.
So he's effectively got 11.
Yes.
So as it stands, Lufcon will be the race winner, unless he has penalties.
No, he didn't have any.
So that's quite interesting, as we're on lap 23 of 36. Lufcon is 8.5 seconds behind, but as you just said, Merge has 11 seconds of penalties, of which he can serve 5 seconds in the pit stop, if it comes to that, having another pit stop. And the weather forecast said it would dry off towards the race, and it's not looking like it's going to be.
No, interestingly enough.
Rain looks
I think
lighter.
actually, wow, you say that.
Well, it's not as heavy as it was.
No, definitely not.
So it'll be interesting to see if they do make a change onto the Inters on the last few laps. We've got 12 to go, so anything can happen, as anything has happened so far. And yeah, I mean, the only real gap to look at is Merge and Livcon as it stands. John Boy, championship leader, a bit far down at the moment with a few penalties, but those penalties are not going to put him into Gryfus's reach, particularly if Gryfus gets handed a post-race penalty for his incident with Pass, who did not let pass.
No, definitely not.
Has Livcon just given him an RPM glitch? She has, hasn't he? Thank you.
So just look at the timings at the minute. It's all very spread out. It's purely just now. The only time you're going to see any type of overtaking is if either someone makes a huge mistake or blue flag conditions. 8 drivers left out of the 14 that started. With the rain how it is right now, and I'm just looking at these sides, just next to the racing line, there is a lot of standing water now. So obviously, wet tires are definitely a must. There's no consideration as to whether or not you can do intermediates. You can't. That's the straight up answer. The other thing to note, though, is that we're actually getting to a point of where I think the safety car may be pulled out as a result of the rain. Because I'm listening to, as the drivers are going round, I'm listening to the sound of the rain hitting the ground, and it is very loud.
I'm going to take your word on that. If it does, that could really make a mess of this race, or make it even more exciting, particularly with people having penalties. It is actually looking quite heavy on board, but then, yeah, I mean that could force a safety car. We shall find out as we go. But Livcon is starting to actually reel in his teammate out front, as they are disconnected from each other. I need to stop going on board with Livcon. He does have that RPM glitch for me.
Quite blessed I don't have those.
It's funny how they've not managed to fix this after nearly a year. But
well, hopefully they do it going into 2019. But see, there's just no real positions on track where anybody is actually trying to make anything happen. Penalties are only on a couple of drivers, so whether or not it's going to impact anybody's positions. At the minute, Jumbo's got the most, but 46 seconds, actually separate him and Griffith. So he can afford to get a few more before he actually has to worry about.
If he wants to, yeah. But he needs to reel in Noosa himself, disregard penalties, get past Noosa and get himself further away. Noosa, Alpha Blue gets another penalty. I was going to say earlier we hadn't had one for a while, but yeah, I mean, Jumbo's got 8 seconds, hasn't he? Of which one is a stop go. Maybe he's got a little bit more. So he needs to reel in Noosa, get in front, because as it stands, Noosa will be closing the gap at the top of the championship. Just still on board with Lufcon. He's looking neat and tidy, despite his glitchy RPM. As Gryfus has gone, where's that? I had a full course yellow there for a second.
Gryfus is retired. Whether or not I'm actually looking on board with Alpha Blue. See,
I've just gone on board with him.
There is a Red Bull ahead of him, which is Noosa. I can't see if Gryfus crashed out or if he retired, because I think he knows what's coming.
Is there on the right. It looks like he just didn't steer in turn 3 and just kept going into the wall. But Jumbo is actually reeling in the back of Noosa at the moment. He does have to get past Alpha Blue though to lap him. And it's 6.3, 6.1 now behind Noosa. As maybe these tyres are starting to fade away for some people. Jumbo on fresher tyres. Maybe he's just got a little bit more grip on these. Be interesting to see what people do.
Look how wet the track is.
Just a little bit, yeah.
So wet, it's ripping. It's like a swimming pool.
Well, as I said, we'll see if a safety car does come out. Jumbo. Oh, nice bit of opposite lock there. For Merge's sake, he doesn't want the safety car. For Lufcon's sake, he does want the safety car. And probably for everyone else, is they do want that safety car to come out because there's such big gaps between drivers that it will make for an interesting last few laps of the race.
So the main telltale sign as to whether or not we're going to get a safety car is when you look at the drivers coming down.
Oh!
Jump boy! No, catch it!
Beautifully
That
held.
was close. He's going to be frustrated again. That's another spin that he's had so far in this Grand Prix. That was almost a major. Well, that'd have took him out, really, wouldn't it? If that'd been, if he'd have hit the wall. If he'd hit the wall there, I think that'd have been his championship dreams just smushed.
Well, it would be smushed. He'll be chasing Noosa going into the last race of the season. So Noosa is 11 points behind. Currently, he's getting 12 points. So Noosa would take the championship lead going into the final race, which is going to be very important. But you're saying about safety.
Sorry, I do want to give some props to Noosa actually. Just given the fact that he's got the physical injury that he's got with his toe, and obviously he is a wheel driver, so it does require him to be able to use all of his foot using the pedals. When it comes to these sorts of situations and this length of racing, can play tricks on your mind, but also the pain that you'll be. Oh, Jumbo's gone again.
Yeah, it's not working for him.
So yeah, I just want to give a little bit of show some love, I guess, for Noosa and being able to get himself up in a P4 so far, and keep himself going.
Yeah, so you were saying earlier about the chance of safety car in the wet. What determines it? Is there?
Yeah. So this part here where Jimbo is currently going down into turn 4, the straight into turn 4. There's a camera angle you can get there where the rain is so severe you physically cannot see cars coming through it. When the safety car was out, you could just see the yellow lights as they exited turn 3 onto the home straight. You couldn't see any car until they got about 3/4 of the way down the straight, and then all of a sudden the car just emerged from the fog. So it was pretty crazy to say the least. But I don't think I was just watching Jumbo as he was coming down the straight into turn 4. It didn't look like we're at that point yet. The rain is definitely chucking it down at the minute, but I think we're in a pretty good place as to whether or not we're going to get a safety car or not.
Well, Merge has pitted while you were talking. He's now about 20 seconds behind Lufcon. And apparently Siri thinks I'm talking to her, which I'm not. So Merge will have served that extra 5-second penalty. And I mean, this is looking torrential now, isn't it? Yeah. The sun, which you could once see, you can no longer see. There is standing water all over the place. Safety car has been deployed. Great news for Lufcon. He needs to dive straight in the pits, get a new set of rubber on. And let's see, he's got to do it. There's no reason not to at this stage of the race.
But not just that, Merge now has an opportunity to recover his issues that he had. He was looking like he was going to fall behind Lufcon from penalties, even if he managed to make those tyres go to the end. Now he's fallen into P2. It was almost looking like he had no opportunity for him to recover anything. Whereas now he can. When they get into the pits and go out again, he might actually be able to pull off something of a miracle. But yeah, keep an eye on the straight out of turn 3.
Oh yeah, this is wet. I mean, I'm just looking down the home straight. The cars just disappear, and Merge is really struggling. Yeah, I mean, just look at the standing water as they go through the center S's 2 and 3, 1 and 2. Merge is holding onto that. Yeah, this is.
Yeah. Watch this camera angle if you get it. Oh, I didn't get it.
No, I've
got like a weird. I can see the steering wheel shut.
I was halfway down the straight, but. This is going to be great news for Lufcon. As I say, he's got fresh rubber on. Merge has penalties, so he needs to get himself up there. And we'll just see if anyone picks up penalties behind the safety car, if we get going again, that is. Noose has decided against pitting. Will that be a good decision or a bad decision come the end of the race?
Well, it's hard to really say. I mean, it's going to be great news for Noosa to be up in P3. But like you say, if those tyres disappear by the time he gets to the end... Oh, okay. Merged through Lufcon over his car.
They are desynced.
Yeah. So, honestly, it keeps happening. I'm not sure who's going to be in P1 if the safety car does restart. But realistically, it's almost like they're doing one-shot qualifying. They're currently merged with each other.
Well, that's Merge's name, isn't it?
Well, there you go.
So I think it's worth keeping an eye on Noosa. I mean, if we don't actually get going again, I don't know if that's possible to not start again after the safety car.
I think we go to. I think we'll be around about lap 32 before the safety car comes in. It's usually sort of 3 laps, although it did take 4 laps, I think it was, last time round for the rain to calm down a little bit and actually get these drivers underway. If the rain stays like this, it is just too unsafe to really let the race continue again. Yeah, and I think we may actually see some drivers crash under the safety car.
Which is going to keep the safety car out for even longer. As long as Ericsson doesn't hit anyone, we're fine.
The one person, sorry, who won't have any issues with another driver is Merge and Leafcon. They won't. Yeah, they're currently just passing through each other and just chucking each other about.
Oh yes, he's literally right on top of him. It does make for interesting viewing. I'll give them that.
We almost need a rated 18 on. Don't we?
How F1 cars are made. I just saw that. Some beautiful. I tell you what, the graphics in this game can be stunning at times. So they go through puddles, you can see the wake of the car.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? They have done a phenomenal job to make the game look so beautiful. And I'm not actually running the game on ultra settings anymore.
Me neither.
This is like high level quality, and it's just unbelievable to see.
Don't often get a chance to see this wet and this pace, do you?
No,
it's happened to you once, but so Noosa.
It was a surprise to me then. I just didn't even know what to say. It was just the track is absolutely soaked. There is no doubt about it. It is definitely not safe for the drivers to actually have a bash at it. Because if they look at the difference between the racing line and the outside of racing line. It's just so wet. There's puddles everywhere. It's almost like a lake.
Yeah, well, we'll see if racing gets going, but as it looks, it's not going to get going anytime soon. As just see Merge jump up into the air and say, "Luftcon, get out of the way." But Noosa's going to be a little disadvantage here actually, because he does have. It's only an AI, but it does mean he's not right behind the front two.
If Noosa's actually checking the driver's timing, he should pit now because he does still have enough time to do it. I mean, well, maybe it'll be a bit different when he comes to the end of this lap because he's only just started another one, but he should pit. Just get in there, get some fresh tyres. He will still come out in front of Jumboy, and that's who he's battling with. I think the thing that's stopping him from doing it is he's currently sat in P3, and he also runs the risk of, well, what if the safety car doesn't go out? What if it doesn't go in and we just stay in these positions? So I get it, but it's just he's playing such a risk right now to be able to stay out in these conditions.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate the safety car is in comparison to real safety car. It was many moons ago at Monaco. The safety car pitted on the final lap, and they were basically processional across the line. They were told not to overtake. Michael Schumacher, however, decided, I'm going to overtake, and did on Fernando Alonso. He got hit with a penalty, but this was probably, I wouldn't be surprised, about 10 years ago now. It was a while back. I don't know how. Oh, there we go. We're going to have the safety car coming in anyway. So, one of the Mercedes boys will get us starting again.
It's looking like Lufcon now.
It's looking more like Merge. Merge is holding everyone back. Lufcon's gone.
I don't know how I think he thinks he's holding everyone. This is strange, to say the least.
Because Lufcon's pretty much gone.
He's got 5.6.
Merge is gone. Oh, nearly gone.
Almost a bin car there. Looking at how they all are taking off down.
Rainbow.
Here we go, Noosa.
Rainbow and Noosa going down the inside. He's made it. No, he hasn't.
They're side by side. Not sure who's going to come off better off as they're coming into the next one. Noosa's going to have the better line through it, but he's actually lost out to Rainbow. And look who's right next to him too. It's Jumboy. This is for the championship points. This is really crucial for both of these drivers. Noosa cannot let Jumboy pass. If he does, he's going to have a really tough time in the final race of the actual calendar.
He's gone wide. Jumboy's come through.
He's through. But can he hold on? As the way he's gone through this track so far this session has not been particularly amazing. But that moment right there may be the pivotal movement he needs. If he can get, oh, he's gone a bit twitchy.
Noose is just nowhere near him, unfortunately. He had a little bit of twitchy himself, getting into the standing water. And I say that, Jumbo's gone side. Ooh, it's gone sideways. False alarm, guys.
He wonders if you know how they do in Tokyo.
I believe they drift in Tokyo. A bit like this. He's gone ball with Jumbo and show us how they drift in Tokyo. And he didn't. But then he has drifted out this corner before. It's interesting enough, he is in mode 5 as well. He's not
4 now. This guy is committed. He wants this position. If he can get past Rainbow, and it's looking like he might do, Rainbow's going to be coming into the pits. I don't know what necessarily drove him to do that with 2 laps remaining of the session.
Can't think it's Inters.
No, it was definitely not Inters. Whether you'd be a madman to even think about trying it. But with 2 laps to go and on
serving a drive-through. Must have missed that. But he has served a drive-through penalty. He must have had speeding under the safety car, which we did miss.
Let me check the race director. I didn't see that.
Well, he didn't do anything in the pit stop, so that must mean he did a drive-through. Jumbo, however, is catching Merge as the weather is starting to subside a little bit, but it's not going to change into Inters anytime soon. Jumbo is right there on the back of Merge. If Jumbo can somehow get up to the front, he will take... No, he won't take the championship because Noosa needs 4th. But Noosa potentially has to pit or risk a puncture.
What is the points gap again between the two of them?
11 going into this race.
Right, okay. So realistically...
I did work it out, but I have forgotten.
A lot higher, yeah, like you said, P4, but Jumbo needs to be out of the points. We are at that point now where he will get points regardless of what position he finishes in. If he finishes in P3, it is literally going to come down to the very final race. Who is going to be the Drivers' World Champion? Not clear here, and it won't be settled here.
Jumbo does have penalties. He has served that 5-second penalty. But he does have another, I think it's 6 seconds of penalties. Noosa, I have not seen pick up any just yet. But he is on very old wet tyres.
He is indeed. He's doing well to keep it together though. He's only 2.7 seconds behind, which does mean that he will be in those penalty areas for when Jumbo does cross the line. We'll actually be able to snatch P3 away from him. He's done a good job of keeping the tyres alive given the fact they've done 19 laps. But the question you got to ask yourself is, has he really made this more difficult for himself than he was absolutely required? He could have pit under the safety car and actually got himself some fresh rubber. And he could have even been challenging for Merge or Lufcon's positions, really. But just purely by just being so nervous and so worried about whether or not he was going to lose that position, he just hasn't done it.
Don't forget, Noosa did have 2 or 3 laps under the safety car, so it's not really 19 laps, it's more like 16, 17 laps. And so that's going to help him a little bit. Jumbo had a little bit of sideways action, trying to close down Merge. He's definitely got straight line speed. I was going to say that, but he's just dropped back on Merge. So, yeah, Noosa has fallen out of 3 seconds. And as I said, I believe Jumbo has 6 seconds, and Noosa has 0.
Yep, I believe that is the case as well. I can double check surely, but we are on the final lap of this session. Lufcon is currently leading the race, followed by Merge, then Jumbo to close out the podium. Noosa is obviously wanting to get up there and stay within the penalty range of Jumbo.
Merge also has penalties, I believe, of 6 seconds.
Does?
I think, yeah.
Oh.
So this could be a great result for Noosa, as Jumbo held it. I thought that was going to go tits over arse once again for him. But let's have a look at Merge.
Noosa won't take Merge's place with the penalties. He is 7.3 seconds outside of the leader, so it'll be a tough one. It'll be a tough one. He might just be in. No, I think
it'll come down to the very last straight. If Merge makes a small mistake and Noosa gets a perfect drive, which I don't think he will on quite old tyres, but coming across the line to take home the Brazilian Grand Prix, we believe, is Lufcon. Definitely a little wobble there from him, showing that he thinks he's won it. Merge P2, only 3 seconds penalties. Jumbo hits a big amount of penalties. Noosa gets in front of him there on the penalties, up to P3. Rainbow then coming around the final corners. will be P5, because I don't think Jumbo had that many penalties.
Oh.
And yes, despite the fact he just jumped up to P1 on my screen, he is P5. Alpha Blue 1 lap down, but still finishing, which is the important part for him. Comes across the line, and P7 was Cass.
Yeah. What a race. I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs, of one of which was where Pass got taken out pretty severely. Like I say, I'm looking forward to seeing how the stewards respond to that one. But that man right there, Lufcon, he does take your Brazilian Grand Prix. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, Nisa did well despite that damaged show to come home third. And John Boy just missing out because of those penalties. He's dropped down to P4, which means Nisa has closed the gap and will go into the final race. It was a 3-point gain, so that's 8 points behind John Boy. So that could be huge. But we'll find that out next week. And driver of the day for you?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm probably going to say Lufcon, starting P5, got himself up in P1, had a really solid drive. Obviously, he was benefited by the fact that Merge did get desynced with him, so they didn't actually see each other. And Lufcon got the benefit of being able to shoot off under the safety car, despite the fact that Merge was actually in P1 originally. But Lufcon drove really, really well, didn't have any issues, and to climb up those places really shows how good he can be.
Yeah, so obviously I think Merge really struggled with the fact that he thought he was in P1, so he's holding up the pack. But Lufcon had already flown away. How that will be decided is not down to us. Yeah, it's a great race there. Nisa did really well, said come from P10. Terrible qualifying, but obviously having the right setup and doing a really long stint helped him there on those wet tyres. So, yeah, thanks all for being here. Thank you, Faragi, for being here. Next week, season finale and in Abu Dhabi. So join us then, same time next week. Cheers for now.
Thank you. Bye.